Taurus, welcome to your 2026 horoscope. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and in this forecast, we will be going over all of the major energy for 2026 to give you a heads up and let you know how this is going to affect your rising sign. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy this content align with my energy and want to see more content from me. So let's get right into it. Okay, so the 2026 Mercury retrogrades are happening in water signs. So these Mercury retrogrades this year are going to be deeply emotional, deeply psychological, and deeply spiritual. So keep that in mind. So our first Mercury retrograde of the year is going to be in Pisces, and Mercury is going to station retrograde February 25th or 26th, depending on your time zone. At 22nd degrees of Pisces, and will station direct at March 20th at 8 degrees of Pisces. So Mercury will be retrograde from February 25th to March 20th. And then the second Mercury retrograde of the year is going to be in Cancer from June 29th to July 23rd. And Mercury will station retrograde at 26 degrees of Cancer and then station direct at 16 degrees of Cancer. And then the final Mercury retrograde for the year will be in Scorpio from October 24th to November 13th. Mercury will station retrograde at 20 degrees of Scorpio and then station direct at 5 degrees of Scorpio. So let's see how this is showing up for you. So that first Mercury retrograde will be in your 11th house of friends, social groups, social connections, all of your groups and associations you're connected to. Social media is also in that 11th house. So there may be something you're rethinking or reevaluating in that those with those themes and topics. There could be something coming up with friends. This is also shortly after the Saturn Neptune conjunction in Aries. So at this point, Saturn and Aries and Neptune will be out of Pisces and in Aries. So something could be triggered with that conjunction where we're having to reevaluate the areas that they just left or get our footing with something. And then our second Mercury retrograde in Cancer will be in your third house of community, neighbors, neighborhood. Your siblings, your cousins are represented in the third house. Vehicles and public transit is in the third house. Also, communication, your mindset, speaking, reading, writing, those themes and topics are all in the third house. So there could be something that you are rethinking or reevaluating, possibly wanting to do some creative work when it has to do with like writing or speaking. Um, or there could even be something going on with siblings or cousins or a car. Oh, I can't even tell you how many times during a Mercury retrograde something's happened with the car because oh, uh-oh, because it's such like a literal representation, like Mercury rules cars, and then in that third house, so you're kind of getting that like double whammy of vehicles. So just be mindful. And then our third Mercury retrograde will be in Scorpio, which is in your seventh house of relationships and one-on-one connections. So there may be something that you are having to rethink or reevaluate around relationships. Also, around the same time, we're going to have the Venus retrograde in the same area. Venus is going to station retrograde in Scorpio and move back into Libra. So I would say at the end of the year, there could be, quite a lot coming up around relationships, business partners, or one-on-one connections that you're having to reevaluate and address. Now let's get into the 2026 eclipse dates. So we have our first solar eclipse in Aries or Aquarius, sorry, in Aquarius at 28 degrees. This is the first eclipse that's going to initiate us into these set of eclipses in Leo and Aquarius. So this year we will feel the transition from one area of life into another. When we have the nodes transiting our birth chart, the houses that the nodes are transiting, for those of you who don't know, the nodes represent where we are having the eclipses, and I'll get into that in the next slide. But this shows massive change. Like there's always massive change in these areas of life, and so the nodes shifting from Virgo and Pisces into Leo and Aquarius. Um, we want to pay attention at this time to what is showing up because this is really going to give us a heads up for what the Leo Aquarius nodal transit is going to bring. And then the second eclipse is our total lunar eclipse in Virgo at 12 degrees, March 3rd. And so, again, whatever you've been navigating for the whole year of 2025, because the nodes entered Virgo and Pisces January of 2025, which would have started to shake things up in these areas of life. And we'll get into that in the next slide. There's going to be more to that story. Whatever began last year around January and then showed up again around uh, August, September, every 6 months when we have the eclipses, there's usually more to the story that shows up that we're having to address in this huge, big story or journey that's kind of playing out. And then with our second set of eclipses, we're going to have our first total solar eclipse in Leo at 20 degrees. August 12th, and our lunar eclipse in Pisces at 4 degrees, August 28th. And this is our final eclipse in Pisces, kind of. It's not completely closing that chapter because we will have a final eclipse in Virgo the beginning of 2027, which will then complete that whole story that's played out the last couple of years. But with this Pisces eclipse, there again, there's going to be more to the story, but we will feel like that journey is finally coming to a close. Things are finally starting to wrap up and finalize in those areas of life. So let's take a look. So you've had the nodes in your fifth and 11th house since January of 2025. So your fifth house rules children, creativity, hobbies, everything that you do for fun or enjoy doing is in that fifth house. Romance is in the fifth house. The 11th house rules friends and friendships, social groups, online connections, social media. All of your groups and associations are in the 11th house. Also, hopes and dreams are in the 11th house. So the North Node represents some new direction we're moving into, and the South Node represents aspects of our lives or aspects of us that are no longer in alignment that we're having to let go of or move away from. So yeah, you may have found like there's been a lot of kind of changes in these areas of life. This year, you will find that whatever massive upheaval took place in 2025, there's there's some like closing of it. Like now things are starting to piece together, come together. Like there was the huge upheaval last year. And as we move through the year, you may find that um things are just starting to make more sense in these areas of life. However, there can still be dynamics and experiences coming up that we're having to address to get to that point too. But either way, there's more to the story showing up. And I have been tracking this in my own life, my friends' lives, clients' lives, families' lives. Like I track the transits, and I can tell you that one thing clear as day is these nodal shifts and eclipses. And like down to pretty much the day of the eclipse, like like whatever story is playing out or whatever journey or change you're on in this area of life, like yeah, something will happen. There's going to be more to that story coming in around the eclipse. Um, yeah, so let's just say, I hope I'm explaining it correct. So let's just say you move, and let's say you moved last year at the eclipse January or January 2025, you're thinking about moving. And then the next 6 months, you took that move. Well, now with this one, there could be something coming up around that move that you're having to address. Like, something along those lines. Like that's how these eclipses kind of play out. Now, with the nodes entering Leo and Aquarius, which is your fourth house and your 10th house, your fourth house rules home, family, property, real estate, what you do behind the scenes, what you do in private. And the 10th house is your career, your public image, and what you are known for out in the world, what you put out in the world. So, there's a lot of changes that will start to take place in these areas of life. You may find that there's balance required here. You may want a new career or a new job. The South Node is usually letting go of some aspect or element of this area of life. So whether it has to do with a family or a home, um, and the North Node and the 10th house is like, yeah, a new direction. So a lot of you may be really pulled towards something new when it has to do with your career, when it has to do with what you want to be known for out in the world and your public image. Now let's touch on the Saturn, Neptune, and Aries energy. Also there's a typo here. So it's January 26th, not February 13th. Saturn will be in Aries from February 13th, 2026 to April 13th, 2028. And Neptune will be in Aries from January 26th, 2026 to 2038 and 2039. So Neptune will make like Neptune will enter Taurus for a little bit in 38 and then come back and then make that full and final ingress in 39. But this is all taking place in your 12th house, and the 12th house represents things, people, places that are hidden, the subconscious. This is kind of the 12th house can rule self-undoing. So you may find with this energy now in your 12th house, there's more pull to um, take more time alone, to have more alone time, retreat a little bit more, isolate a little bit more. You may also find yourself developing a really solid spiritual practice. You can have, you can find that your intuition really heightens over the next decade with this energy in your 12th house. But Saturn being in Aries, Saturn is at fallen Aries. So Saturn doesn't necessarily like to be in Aries because Aries is a very fast-paced energy. Aries can be very impatient, very impulsive, and Saturn is very much about boundaries and doing things maturely, doing things responsibly. Aries is act now, think later. Saturn's very much no, 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 think now first, so we don't act like a doorknob later. you know? So it's a little bit of a contradicting energy. So Saturn ruling your ninth house of long distance travel, higher education, higher knowledge, um, your belief systems are in the ninth house. The Saturn and Aries energy will also kind of affect that ninth house themes and topics as well. So just be mindful of that. If you, one thing with Saturn is that Saturn does rule things like delays, limitations, restrictions. So if you're planning on traveling, there could be delays, or if you're planning on going back to school, there can be delays. Like that's all in the ninth house. So just be mindful of that. And then the 12th house is opposite the 6th, meaning that there is an opposition here. Like Saturn is opposing that energy, Neptune is opposing that energy. So the 6th house rules your daily routine, your health, your nutrition habits, also pets. There may be, 6th house themes and topics as well that are coming up for change, or where we are having to make shifts in these areas, or there's things that we may have to deal with over the next couple of years with especially with Saturn in the 12th house. Now, Uranus and Gemini. Uranus will be in Gemini from April 25th, 2026 to May 2033. This is going to be in your second house of money, finances, and material possessions. Also, your personal values. Also, everything that kind of makes you feel safe and secure. That is very much represented in the second house. So, like having Uranus here, there's absolutely going to be shifts and changes. There could be a lot around finances, of course, that's going to change. Even to with everything making the shift this year. It's like this year is so like prominent for change because so many planets are shifting signs. And even with the nodes shifting signs, like the North Node will be going in your 10th house of career, Uranus going in your second house of money and finances, like there's definitely going to be changes in those areas of life. You may find you want to be careful though, like because Uranus rules things like chaos and disruption and instability. So, maybe spending too quickly or um yeah, you may just have a bit of challenge. Like you may find you have to really ground this energy to keep it like grounded, like so you're not just spending money too freely, if you get what I'm saying. Like that could be something that really does show up with the Uranus in the second house transit. Or you may also find too that at some point during this transit over the next 8 years, you come into some money. Like you may, yeah, I mean, that's a thing too, right? Like it can show up either way. It depends on your personal birth chart and placement, but you may find you come into a windfall of money or you're spending too much money. But either way, Uranus is here disrupting this area of life and really making things quite unstable when it does come to your finances. So just kind of trying to be as mature and responsible as you can and just at least be mindful and aware of it. Because like you don't want to like be shopping online and then before you know it, spend like two, three, four, $5,000 and you get the bill and it's like, oh my goodness. Like yeah, we just want to be careful of those type of incidences over the next 8 years. Okay, let's touch on Jupiter and Leo now. So Jupiter will be in Leo from June 30th, 2026 to July 26th, 2027. So you have Leo in your fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate. So Jupiter is the planet of expansion. Jupiter can bring too much of a good thing or too much of a bad thing. Either way, Jupiter expands everything it touches. And so Jupiter being in the fifth house, in the fourth house, you could be moving. There could be something that you're doing around your house. Maybe you're renovating. Maybe you're expanding your home. Maybe, maybe you're having to, again, because the south node, is the south node? No, the south node is going to be in, yeah, the south node is going to be in Leo because the South Node is going to be here too at the same time. There could be quite a lot going on. Like there's something also we're pulling away from in this area of life at the same time as Jupiter's kind of expanding it. And so because Jupiter is going to be expanding the energy that we're releasing and letting go of, um, that would actually even, I'm feeling too, like if you wanted to make a move, like there could be more energy on your side to kind of get that in motion. Like if you wanted to purchase a house or, um, yeah, like something along those lines or change your home or renovate in some way. That's definitely a possibility. Also, too, this could be family. Like some of you could be expanding your family. Maybe family is moving in. Maybe you're moving in with family members. Maybe you're having children. Yeah, maybe you meet somebody with children over the next year. You know, and that's definitely a possibility. All right, now let's touch on the Venus retrograde. So Venus is going to station retrograde October 3rd and then station direct November 13th. So Venus will be retrograde from October 3rd to November 13th. And Venus is going to station retrograde in Scorpio and move back into Libra. So Scorpio is in your seventh house of relationships and one-on-one connections. So again, there is something in this area of life that you are having to address, that you're having to reevaluate. Um, Venus retrogrades usually have to do with what we need on a what we need internally, what we desire, how we want to feel loved and how we love. So this is very much going to be, and remember at the same time, with this, we have a Mercury retrograde around the same area. So there's a lot that we're all kind of reevaluating in this area of life. And this can be how you connect to people, how you connect to your one-on-one connections. And if you're not getting what you need, that can come up. Or if your partner is not getting what they need, that can come up. And then when Venus moves back into that sixth house, there could be something about your daily routine or pets or work that you're having to address as well. But the one thing about this Venus retrograde is that Pluto is going to be in Aquarius in your 10th, and Mars is going to be in Leo, in your fourth, creating a T square to Venus. And this is not a happy Venus. Venus does not like to be in Scorpio, because Venus is the ruler of Taurus. She's at fall in Scorpio. She's the farthest away from home. And both of these planets are the ruler of Scorpio. So if you think like this is a very unhappy Venus, this is a Venus that is very much in a situation that she doesn't like, she doesn't feel comfortable. She's got both, Mars, this planet of anger, aggression, conflict, and Pluto, which could be very, obsessive or power. Pluto represents like power and control dynamics. So, especially for you, Taurus rising, and I know this is not going to be for all of you, but for some of you, if you are in situations where you feel there's power and control dynamics or manipulation or obsession, just be careful. Like, this is not a time where you want to be out walking alone. You don't want to be taking any chances. Like, this is not the greatest energy. It could be quite volatile. The best way we could if we think back to, we had an opposition, we had our Pluto Mars opposition the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025. Was there anything that showed up for you around that time period because that could give you an idea of what could possibly show up again because it was in the similar spot. Mind you, it wasn't with a Venus T square, but it was a Pluto Mars opposition, which is still that volatile energy that we'll be navigating the end of the year. So yeah, just be mindful, Mars being in that fourth house, there could be something going on around your home or your family you're having to address too. The 10th house is your career, public reputation, but both Mars and Pluto rule that seventh house of relationships and one-on-one connections, and Venus will be retrograde there, and there will be that T square. So yeah, there could be just something around relationships at the end of the year that you are having to navigate. So that is the end of our horoscope. I hope that this helps you navigate the year ahead. And if you enjoyed the horoscope, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and comment below if you have any questions at all. And I will connect with you in the next one.